live.
Wow. I think we need to put that out to like at least 15 seconds. How many seconds was that? That was
Like
a cool
10
intro. Yeah, I think 10 seconds is all we need, right?
Well, we'll talk about it. We can do whatever the hell you want.
All right, man. Anyway, guys, welcome. Good morning, good evening, wherever the heck in the world you are. It is the Guerrilla, and I'm here with my main man, the Thriller, who's not from Manila, the one and only Algo Cowboy. You know what it is. You can find us both over at Rogue News ESW, Rogue ESW. That's going to be the new site. We're doing some changes as we transition like a transitional person with multiple genders, but we're only going in one direction, and that direction is a direction of logic, truth, and solutions. You can find us over at Rogue ESW, roguenews.com, as we fully transform into something awesome, like we're forming Voltron. And also, you can find both of us over at algofactory.tech, algofactory.tech. Learn to trade your job, upgrade your life. Algofactory.tech is the place where you can learn how to profit from chaos, how to create a secondary income, how to have AI deployed for you, and learn the ins and outs to profit from any situation within the market. You can find us, and not only that, also give you some insider information not found anywhere else. Insider, not talking about trading, but the geopolitical, geoeconomic, mostly the geoeconomic and market data that we project and that we look at for our trends forecasting and that. So check us both out at algofactory.tech. And with that being said, Cowboy, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Doing pretty good, man. How you doing?
Brother, lots going on. There's been a lull in the shooting wars. First, we had the India-Pakistan war of 2025, which lasted just a handful of days, where they were yelling at each other using their funny accents. And then we've had the Iran thing, where Israel thought it can pop off at Iran and nothing will happen, and then they got devastated. And now we're having a lull. There's a lull right now, and the world is right now just holding on with bated breath, seeing what is the next shoe to drop. Will there be another crisis around the corner? Who knows? But things are changing, folks. The world is starting to realign. And things are not going to be the same. I think there's going to be new regional players erupting in the Middle East. I think the Middle East is getting redone. I think Europe is finished. And it's interesting. I mean, you and I talked a little bit in Algo Factory about what we're speculating in with the capital inflows that are occurring here in the United States from offshore. But we also talked about why it's like the dollar demand is high, but the dollar price keeps falling. And also, now with Trump's requirements, the NATO leaders are now agreeing to hike 5%. They want that 5% hike in defense spending. So I don't know, man. Where do you want to start, brother? You're on mute. Hello?
I don't know if you're looking at the screen, but I literally brought that article up as if we had planned that.
No, I know. We haven't even talked about this.
We didn't even talk about it. That was like, I was just going to bring that up because you were talking about this, and I'm like, damn, holy shit, that was badass. It looks like we're actually
great
planning
minds,
stuff.
brother. Great minds. That's what it is.
Right? And guess who wore a suit to the meeting?
I don't think that's Zelensky.
You think it's
no. People are. I know who you're talking about. Here, let me share. Yeah, click that picture.
This picture. I don't know if it's going to let me do that. Yeah, it will.
It will. Click that picture and then zoom in on the guy with the beard.
That's
right
not
there.
him.
That's not Zelensky.
No.
I don't know who that is. People.
Zelensky wore a suit, but no.
Oh, wait. I missed that.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Zelensky. He's not wearing a suit.
No, he's wearing a. What is he wearing? It looks like a parka.
It looks like some sort of It looks like a jacket. No tie, black shirt. He's not wearing a suit, man.
What's with this guy? Oh, look at Macron closing his eyes.
Yeah, Macron. He's
imagining his wife,
yes.
not smacking him.
Who's the bimbo in yellow?
I don't know.
And who's the bimbo in blue? It looks like Nancy Pelosi on crack.
Look
like Nancy Pelosi on crack. This is the world leaders. These are a group. Apart from Trump, everybody else up there is a bunch of. Apart from Trump, and is Orban up there? I don't think.
There's Maloney.
Yeah, apart from Maloney and Trump, everybody else.
Look at this guy here, looking off to the side like it's.
Everybody else is a bunch of degenerate drug addicts.
Von der Leyen.
Von der Leyen. She can't help but lie. The hell is she doing over there?
I don't know.
These are all losers. Look at this gaggle of losers. This is the golden billion, folks. The golden billion.
Orban's there.
You see, apart from Orban, Maloney, and Trump, everybody else can go to hell. Everybody else.
Yeah, look at this guy taking it real seriously right here.
Oh, yeah. He's a joke, just like whatever country he's from is a joke.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. I mean, look.
What's with the Asian guy? There's an Asian guy in NATO.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Well, NATO's in Asia now. Like,
you go far enough east, and you start to.
Oh, NATO's professional. It's no longer the North Atlantic. It's North whatever the hell we want to be. Treaty organization.
Look at this guy here. He
looks like Klaus Schwab's retarded cousin.
So Klaus Schwab.
Yeah, still Klaus Schwab, right? What's this guy? What's the tall lurch-looking guy in the back with the
You rang.
Yeah, exactly, dude. This is Western leadership at its finest, folks. Bunch of morons, bunch of nitwits. All Europe is going down in flames. And here's the funny part, man. The situation in Europe is so bad. Economically, they're devoid. They're starving for dollars. Okay, they have so many problems going on. And the fact of the matter is, okay, the fact of the matter is that how are they going to maintain a 5% GDP hike? Like, how are they going to do that?
It's a 5% hike, right? Is that okay? So let's read it. NATO members agreed to boost defense spending, aiming to raise military budgets to 5%, but it's just a 5% hike. So if they mean to 5%, that's one thing.
No, they mean to 5% of GDP. They can't afford that.
To invest. There it is right there. Yeah. Okay. So guess what? They don't have right now, though.
They don't have it.
They don't have any money.
No. And because they've been whacked out of the euro dollar trade, right? They can't generate dollars out of thin air to pay for this crap either. So this is going to be interesting.
Yeah. This is the squeeze. Right.
This is the squeeze.
This is the squeeze.
Trump has literally brought these assholes to a position where they can't pay the bill. They can't pay that 5% of GDP. This is going to squeeze them even more out. How are they going to pay for more austerity?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know how they're, because what are they doing right now? Where are they getting the money right now? We talked about it. They don't have the capability to make dollars out of thin air. Because here's the thing, a lot of people don't get it. V, can you please explain for the audience the euro dollar and how that matters?
Well, it matters big because the whole. I'm not going to belabor the whole history behind it, but to give you the Cliff Notes version, folks, we gave the power to European banks to be able to create U.S. denominated debt and U.S. dollars out of thin air, fractional reserve lending, so to speak, and the ability to print money, right? To create it out of thin air and utilize it for whatever, whether it's infrastructure or whatever, payments and, whatever they needed to do, so to speak. That's gone. That's gone. So how is Europe now going to get dollars in order to pay for trade? How are they going to get it to pay for a lot of the shenanigans they've been paying for all around the world, okay? And then on top of that, this puts them in a liquidity crunch like no other. And the euro is not as liquid as the U.S. dollar. So this is a huge problem that Europe has. Now, how are they going to match 5% of GDP? I mean, they're imploding as is, Cowboy.
Yeah, see, think about this. This is right out of Investopedia. What is the euro dollar? The term euro dollar refers to unsecured, key word, unsecured, means no collateral, means no counterparty. U.S. dollar denominated deposits at foreign banks or at the overseas branches of American banks. Because they're held outside of the United States, and this is key here, euro dollars are not subject to regulation by the Federal Reserve Board, including its regulation relating to reserve requirements. First of all, dollars printed here in the States also are relatively unsecured, but in reality, they are secured by, future tax collections, the assets that we have as a country. When everybody talks about the debt to $37 trillion, nobody actually cares to talk about our assets, which is the other side of the balance sheet, which is half of the balance sheet. So yeah, sure, we're kind of in trouble from a credit standpoint, but we also have a lot of assets that no one talks about. Point here is that there are no assets backing the euro dollar system. And if there are assets backing euro dollars, we don't know what they are because it's unregulated. We have no idea, right? So just if you're a bank outside of the United States and you have the capability to produce dollars, as this used to be prior to 2023, if I'm not mistaken. Then you could just print dollars to create loans, right? So you loan some muckety muck corporation, whatever, $10 million, right? And then they can go out and loan that out however many times they want to. All of a sudden, you've got $100 million because there's no reserve requirements. And if there are, we don't know what they are. So that's gone now. So Europe can't just print money out of thin air, probably with multiples of, let's just use the word egregiousness than what we did here in this country with our own federal system. So their blank check is gone. Now they got to pay for their defense. Do you think they're going to do it? Do you think they have the? I mean,
they're right now scrambling with their rear ends all puckered up, trying to figure out a way on how they're going to cover this expense. Is it going to be more austerity? They can't do nothing. This is a requirement. So in other words, this is going to hasten the death of NATO.
Well, you know what? NATO was developed and created to counter the USSR, right?
Yep.
Remember when Russia was the bad guy? Even though it was like a Georgian and some guy from New York that actually were the Bolsheviks. The Bolsheviks weren't even Russian. And some even think that the Bolsheviks were created out of a certain island, rather large island, to the north of which is the North Sea. And they speak English, and we're talking about England. Britain, really, whatever you want to call it. So long story short, the Bolsheviks were probably not an organic movement. They're very good at targeting areas where they can, make people upset. And so that's a long story. We know about the Russian Revolution, or whatever you want to call it, the 1918 Bolsheviks. We're not going to go through all that now, but Russia was put into that situation. And then in the 90s, when that fell apart, they had to pull themselves out of it. And when they pulled themselves out of it, I mean, sure, they had a military, but in the end, I think Putin even asked at one point, he met with whoever, it might have been Obama or it might have been Clinton or something. And Bush might have been baby Bush, but he was like, should we join NATO? And they didn't allow him to. So I think they needed an enemy. They didn't want Russia to be our friend. They never did. So they did not allow them into the fold. And so Russia just went ahead and developed on its own. And hard times made strong men, and strong men are beating the living daylights out of Ukraine right now. So, that's where we are in the world, right? So what's NATO there for now, right? Well, I mean, what's Russia doing? I know, obviously, if you're Ukrainian and you're losing people, my heart goes out to you. I don't think anybody should die for any reason. I don't think there should ever be war. So I'm not saying anything like that. But at this point, we all know the history of Ukraine as well. And we know, at least in this audience, that the U.S. pretty much came in and did a coup in 1914. So Russia, in this sense, is just overturning the coup, right? From that point of view. So really, like, what's Russia doing that's bad? They just want to do business with the world, right? Oh, Putin wants to, regain the USSR. He wants to, whatever the news says. So whatever, you can repeat what CNN says. Oh, Putin just wants to bring back the glory of the USSR and conquer all the countries. Okay, fine. You know what? What if all those countries wanted to voluntarily work with Putin? What if it wasn't he was conquering? What if they could make more money working with Russia?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, V? I mean, do you think these other countries are not necessarily like wanting to fight Russia? They might even want to work with Russia, but they're being held back by NATO and the political force that is behind it?
100%. You hit the nail on the head. The big problem is that NATO is an impediment. It is an ideological worldview that no longer exists anymore. Soviet Union is gone. It doesn't exist. This is not the Soviet Union days. This is not the Russia of those days. This is a completely different ballgame. In order for Europe to even prosper, the countries that actually want to move forward, you got the ideological retarded members of the EU, which is the French. Apart from Italy and Hungary, the rest of Europe can go to hell. They are completely swallowed the civilization-killing suicide pill, which is far leftism and some of the most extreme at this point communistic, laws and regulations that are being put in place. I have friends of mine that are in the crypto industry that are closing up shop and leaving Europe because they just passed one of the most draconian crypto laws ever, where right now it's just like people are selling off European exchanges. It's making it extremely difficult to do any sort of business in Europe, and that's just the crypto industry. This is also occurring in precious metals. This is also occurring with their entire stock market. We are literally, they are concocting laws to start taxing every trade in Europe. That's the next major move that they're going in. So anybody who's in private equity, anybody who's in the equities market is involved in any sort of investment, you're going to look at exit stage left. You're going to look at getting the hell out of there. And that's what's happening. So we are witnessing not only the end of NATO, but we're going to see the end of Europe. And as Europe gets completely just falling into a third world cesspool that is fast approaching, which also brings us to the next thing, Cowboy, is that the Middle East is also being reshaped. Right now Israel could say all it wants that, oh yeah, we did such a great job in Iran. No, Israel got smacked the F up by the Iranians. Israel got beaten badly by the Iranians. There's nothing Israel could do. Nothing they could do. And I think they should take it to heart to start working with their regional partners instead of being a rabid attack dog. Right? Because if they're going to be a rabid attack dog, and one of the things that Iranians have realized is like, hey, you know what? I think having a nuke is what's going to stabilize the entire region. Right? Either you denuclearize the entire Middle East, right? Or you let everybody have nukes. And that's the whole entire thing here. Israel, the world has woken up through this whole Iranian thing and realized that Israel is not this undefeatable, mafia state that's in the Middle East. They're starting to realize that they can be beaten. They can be beaten badly. Now they're sitting there licking their wounds, right? And Israel simply doesn't have the industry to keep up with the pace and the ferocity that the Iranians were dropping on them. So now it's people looking to the Middle East, Cowboy, and they're like, okay, what is going to be the new geopolitical reality? Well, Israel still has a part to play. They'll be there. But now you have the Saudis, you have UAE, you have Qatar, you have Iran, even though Iran is not a Middle Eastern country, but is a major influence in the region. And now I think we're seeing some sort of stalemate, and I think some sort of a new balance of power is being played out in the Middle East. And I don't think the Israelis will have the type of influence that they used to kick around. Because remember, everybody was scared to hit Israel because everybody's worried about the U.S. getting involved. Now they're starting to realize that, hey, you know what? The U.S. has some sense because we understand that we're not about to risk our men and materiel if it means catastrophic losses on our side. Because let's be honest here, technology has made even the playing field when it comes to warfare. And Iran is not some third world country that they can knock over mud huts and be done with in about a week. No, this is a power player. So it's interesting to see this, my man.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely interesting to see this, and we actually have a funny clip here regarding the Middle East, what's happened. So we got Ruta. I'm sorry guys, I don't speak German, if that is even German, but it's a funny exchange between the two of them.
Yeah, play
Hopefully
it.
there's audio.
Yeah, that's the guy who's the new head of NATO. I wonder what his military expertise is.
I think he might have played a captain in the theater at one point.
He sucks at he performs oral sex. That's his experience in military ventures.
That's what captain was code for, right?
Yeah, captain. Yeah, Captain Bend Over. Go ahead.
Shit. All right.
There's no audio, man.
Okay, yeah. You know what it is the way this is shared because it's on X. There's a bit of a problem. Let me see if I can do it this way.
Hit the volume on X.
Well, that's it. I did.
Or send me the link. I could do it on my end.
Give me a second. Stop the screen. Let's try this one more time. Apologies, everybody. Still, still the jumper cables here. There we go. Okay, I did it right this time. There we are. Here we go. Let's do this. Rewind it. Volume's good. Here we go.
I mean, we may do papers on it, Marco. Maybe we're going to do papers. I don't even know if you need them. They're not going to be fighting each other. They've had it. They've had a big fight, like two kids in a schoolyard. They fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes. then it's easy to stop them.
Then daddy has to sometimes do strong language to
You have to
get
use
stuff.
strong.
Daddy has to sometimes do strong
Sometimes you have to
language.
do strong language.
He's
I
called
know
Trump
about
Daddy.
strong language when I was doing theater and I was a theater kid. My instructor told me to get on my knees, and I began to get on my knees, and I told me to close my eyes and pretend I was swallowing a banana.
Okay.
And that's how I became the new head of NATO.
No more head jokes. So this is funny because he actually calls Trump Daddy.
Strong language to
You have to
get
use
stuff.
strong language. Every once in a while, you have to use to stop them.
Then daddy has to sometimes do strong language to
You have to
Daddy,
use
that's
strong
right.
language.
Daddy's
Every once in a
right.
while, You have to use a certain word.
I think we have to join the house.
Referring to Trump using the F word. The president of the United States used the F word on live TV. We played.
Good
at
for
least-
him, and people love him for it.
Yeah. No, yeah, dude. It's really something, and that's why we had the title, Europe. Somebody said it in the comments here. Where is it? Europe is the new Africa. Who said that? Was it Eric? Eric I'll see if I can find. Here it is. Well, here's the thing. Africa is going to be probably the new China. In a way, I don't know that, I think China is probably going to invest in Africa, and the tech's probably going to come from China. We talked about this. I think you're the one that told me.
Yeah, there's a ton of resources in Africa, and I think the idiotic West doesn't know how to work in a synergistic way to extract that. The Chinese are doing a much better job than we are, and I think we have a lot of catching up to do. So, Africa is mineral rich. There's many countries in Africa that are absolutely, starting to prosper. Yeah,
Burkina Faso. And here's the thing about Africa, and this is something that I haven't heard anybody else say. So Africa, what has been said and is well known that the colonies in Africa are European. So, it's been kind of like America gets to have South America, Europe gets to have Africa, right? Well, think of it this way. A lot of the wealth that is extracted from Africa goes to France and effectively into Europe, right? Because, I don't know that France really makes anything. What do they make? Big razors? I don't know. Probably not. Gillette. I think Gillette. Isn't that like an American company?
Yeah, it is American, but it was started by a French guy.
Oh, okay.
Or something. Yeah, but it's
something. I think what French makes.
What do French make?
Food, wine, cheese. I actually I've never been to France. I've always gotten along well with French people. I love the language. I think it's beautiful. And I have an acquaintance who he's got his wife, his ex-wife and kid are over there. He's over there. He says it's not what we think it is. Maybe in like Paris, it's really bad. And I would love to see France fixed, but I don't think so. I think the only country is going to get fixed, like you said, are Italy. And besides some of the Eastern European countries, I'd like to think that Greece and Spain, like the pigs. So, and I hate that acronym, by the way. Terrible.
So the head of NATO, Mark Rutte, the Dutch Mark Rutte, who is the former prime minister of the Netherlands, his education is he has an arts degree.
Yeah, I knew it. It's like I told you, he played a captain in theater.
Yeah, exactly. He's a fucking joke.
Listen, we talked about that yesterday. Like the diplomats in, say, Russia, China, or any respectable nation, those diplomats come from where, they're like either former scientists or, former military, or they've done something as a lower level politician. They fixed something big and they've earned their spot and they have a respect and everything like that. The diplomats that are in the West, what's their background? They're lawyers. They're performing arts. What was Trudeau?
Joke.
What was Trudeau before he was chosen?
He was a part-time ski instructor and a drama
high school drama teacher. Yeah. Well, I mean,
joke, man.
I mean, what is he? Who's Castro's kid, right? I mean, there's some pretty interesting evidence. I don't know what's real or what's not real because you can't tell what's effing real anymore. But yeah,
you cannot tell.
So, all right, man. Well, we can take a look at the headlines here. Did you have anything else to add to all that?
No. That's all I have to say. And I have a doctor's appointment. I forgot to tell you this, man. I have a doctor's appointment at like 12:05, so I got to probably leave here in about like 5 minutes or so.
Is the transition like? Are they going to be able to give you some good drugs after your bottom surgery?
Yeah, they are. They They're giving me some amazing new next generation stem cells that are cultivated using banana peels. So it's pretty intense. But I'm excited, man. It's soon my my voice will be much higher pitched, and it'll be great. I'm losing all my muscle mass, so that's good.
The last
And
thing I suppose we can look at could be the markets, because they're not behaving like we just almost saw World War III, right? Like we talked about this in Algo Factory, and markets right now are super unpredictable. Let's take a brief look just at the Nasdaq. Maybe we'll take a look at Bitcoin. We'll call it a day.
Yep.
So we don't need any audio for that. All right, so here's the Nasdaq, all-time highs today, right? And the whole time we were, like at war or whatever, the whole time Israel and Iran were fighting, it's doing nothing but going up. All it did was go up.
Yeah.
You're looking at a 3-hour chart. So let me see here. It started okay, so it kind of went down a bit. It slid a little bit, last week early, and then it just rocketed up. And it didn't even really slide. Like it didn't, you should have a panic anytime you see Israel launching on Iranian nuclear sites. Market should be in the toilet. And everybody thought it was going to be, but guess what it did? It stayed pretty steady and it mobbed up. What's it up? Let's see here. Since Sunday, since the open, we got a 5% gain in the markets with an all-time high today, right? All-time high today. And Bitcoin following suit, right? And you can see the prediction I made with Bitcoin right there. I made that, yesterday morning, and I did that. In fact, I did a victory lap here with the Algo Factory video. Speaking of Algo Factory, look in the description. You will find a link where you'll get a free algo. Just click on that link, put in your email address, real name, fake name, we don't care, and we'll send you an algo. We'll get you on a list to give you updates. You can get we're doing a free workshop and stuff. So check that out. Check your emails. We'll hope to see you in there. Via the Guerrilla, since it is time to go here, I will say one last thing about markets. They're bullish right now. Now, they may pull back, but everything looks bullish in the markets. Things can change very quickly, but the algos themselves are bullish. So we might see a pullback in the next day or two, but I think by the end of the week, next week, the week after, as long as something doesn't explode or some weird crap doesn't happen, you're probably going to see another new high on the NASDAQ, most likely based in the algos. So that's it. That's all I got, V.
And with that being said, folks, we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be regularly scheduled. We'll go a full hour, and we'll have a lot more news to cover. It's been pretty quiet this summer ever since the whole Israeli thing quieted down.
I won't be on tomorrow, but I can set up a show for you tomorrow.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go solo.
Awesome.
And with that being said, folks, we're at the end of the program. Cowboy, take it away, my friend.